full scenery behind me. This is actually my backyard behind me, and absolutely beaming and just ready to get back into the footy and start talking footy again. I had a bit of a cameo last week.
You did. No, well, I'm enjoying the palm trees in the background there, and we were just discussing off air what the weather was like in the two different states today, and I'm very jealous that you're sitting in a 31-degree weather day, and we've got torrential rain here in Melbourne. So thank you very much for the jealousy this early on.
Yeah, to the viewers, I said to Shannon, and this is no word of a lie, I said to Shannon that literally me and the family have just literally jumped out of the river. And I've put a shirt on. I'm still in my bathers.
Good evening, Michelle. Thank you once again for being here with us this evening. So let's get into it. First off the bat, how are you?
I am probably the best I've been in so long. It's not funny. I mean, we've been planning this move for probably the better part of 5 or 6 years, and everything just sort of lined up, and we had a crazy 2 or 3 months of just getting everything ready and organised and getting moved, and now I'm here and the family's here finally. They come up on Sunday, and it's just can't wait for Christmas and just to settle into new life.
Wow, sounds like a big move. Big move.
Yeah, it is. Not quite as big as when we moved to the United States, but that was only 2 of us then.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's good. Oh, Debbie O'Connor already missed the weather report. What's happening on the Goldie John?
I don't know about the Goldie, but up on the sunny, as I like to call it, I'm a sunny boy now. It's absolutely beautiful up here.
That's great. No, I've been up to the Sunshine Coast. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's get into it straight off. 2021 fixture came out yesterday. First 6 rounds with dates and venues and times. I'm happy. How are you? I know you said you had a strong opinion on what you're feeling with the fixture. I personally think it's a good fixture. I mean, round 1 and round 2, we're going to have 2 and zip, in my personal opinion, but that's just me. What are your thoughts on the fixture?
I look at it a little bit holistically now in terms of I don't think that there is such thing as a good or bad fixture, because the competition is so even, and because you really can't predict who is going to be big next year, who's going to be good next year, who's going to be crap next year. So it's really, really difficult to tell. And the way Carlton has been playing their football and, shedding 6-7 goals in the opposite direction, most of the teams that we play against, if we do that, we're going to lose. So it's getting that right, and then we can be competitive with just about everyone there. I mean, Richmond at the MCG, always going to be a struggle. West Coast and West Coast, always going to be a struggle. I'm not sure if that's in the picture, but, those type of games that you sort of mark down as, okay, they're probably a good chance, probability-wise, probably a good chance we won't win those. But every other game, you sort of say, right, this is a winnable game if we don't shed those 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah. Well, just going through after round 6, we do have, I'm just going to, a bye is in round 13, which is pretty good, in my personal opinion. We have Fremantle away at Optus Stadium.
Yeah, that's winnable.
That is winnable.
Yeah.
We have West Coast at home at the MCG in round 12.
Yeah, well, they're back to playing good footy at the MCG, so they're still going to be very hard to beat anywhere.
That's true. No, Sydney away at the SCG on my birthday, funny enough. Or that weekend anyway. The 30th of May is my birthday. So that particular weekend, we play Sydney.
Lovely. Guess where you're going for a weekend away then?
I'm not going to Sydney. Sorry to our Sydney followers. I'm staying put in Melbourne.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not.
No. Is there any games that you think that, well, do you have a number of how many games you think would get us to finals next year? I know there was a few posts around the traps yesterday saying that 13, 14 is going to be the benchmark for us. What do you think? What do you think will be passable for next year?
I think finals is passable. Anything below that now, you're really starting to talk, okay, change of coach, change of leadership group in terms of, the off-field. You really got to be looking around the place and asking some serious questions.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Okay, that is really, that's an anomaly for every single side in the competition. You can't really make too many decisions based on just that single year. But I think if it gets to 2021, every match is played where it's meant to be played, and we're not making finals or at least knocking on the door, I think there's some serious questions going to be asked of everyone throughout the organisation.
Yeah, well, Andrew, welcome again. Said great draw for us. Avoid away games against Brisbane, West Coast, Geelong, plus Hawthorn at the G. Very true. I was not keen to travel down to Geelong again because the last couple of times have been a complete nightmare for us. So on and off the field, really, in hindsight, because they're very volatile supporters down in Geelong. Not very friendly at all.
Yeah, look, I think Gil sort of alluded to the fact 2 years ago, if you get your membership base up, you won't get down to Geelong games. And if you improve your football, you won't get, to Geelong games, as a strong Melbourne club. There'll be more for the interstate clubs. So we've done that, and I can't see us going back to Geelong for a long, long time.
Me either, thank goodness, because like I said, do not like it down there. And like you said, with a big membership base that we're building now, I believe it's 62,600 something at the moment, which is a record for this time of the year. Yeah.
Is it really? Wow.
I just checked the website. And it's 62,000 plus, which is for this time of year is a record.
Yeah, well, you've got to think, you'll be pushing 80 now.
Oh, without question. And you'd want to be pushing 80, especially like with the huge build-up that we've got. And we've got one of the biggest supporter bases in the country, just not one of the biggest membership bases in the country, if that makes sense. Like we've got tons of Carlton supporters out there that just half of them aren't members. So
the Roy Morgan report, I think a couple of years ago, said we had, and I think they really lowballed this, was 440,000 supporters around the country, and that's what they extrapolate after they do their surveys.
Yeah.
Yes, one of the biggest Melbourne clubs, but we had one of the lowest member to supporter ratios.
Yeah, which is like, can you imagine if we had 400,000 members? Like, that'd be insane. That's like 4 MCGs full of.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
Oh, we're going to need a bigger Coliseum. Not a bigger boat.
Play football at Hyde Park,
No, that's it. No, and welcome Adrian again. Our Tassie followers there. Yes, we did beat Geelong last year. This year, I should say. It's technically still to 2020, sadly. But we did beat them. But there was no crowd, so.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there.
That was one of our best wins of the season, no doubt about it. We played some.
No. Well, on the topic of 2020, let's rewind a little bit to the start of this year. What were your expectations of the club heading into 2020 before coronavirus?
Yeah, so I publicly said between 8 and 12 wins is about par, and I was comfortable with that, given that, we were just that another year on in terms of development. And I think we got to 8, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah. So
don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. Where's our stats go? I know, Natalie, you're in the comments. Let me know if we're right.
It's the low end of acceptable.
It is. Yeah. And considering that there was maybe 4 or 5 games there that I thought we should have won.
Yeah.
Whether it was close contest or just, in front by 30 points and then lost by 30 points sort of thing.
Yeah.
So 7 wins we got in the end. So
out of 7
for me, considering where we've been the past few years. But no, next year finals or bust, really.
Yeah.
So, no, heading into round 1, I was actually pretty excited heading into round 1 because I actually thought that we were going to give Richmond a big run for their money considering where we've been the past few years, and watching it with no crowds was actually a little bit strange for me. Like, I'm like,
It was, yeah.
I wasn't comfortable. Like the core group of the cheer squad, we all sit together at the footy. We're just sitting there going, well, this isn't fun. Because we're so used to the build up, like the week of, we're getting the banner ready, we're doing everything that we need, you know, and then come game day we're on, and then this year was just nothing.
Yeah, it was really, really tough. I said throughout the season, I would pay extra money to Foxtel, which became KO streaming service. I would have paid for that particular season. I would have paid extra money just to shut the commentators up so you could hear what was going on out on the ground.
I know.
That would have brought an awesome local footy atmosphere to it, and I would have loved that. I paid X amount of dollars to be able to just shut them up.
And sometimes they just stated the obvious, really.
Yeah.
It was just, yes, we get it. There's no one here. Like, shush.
Oh, yeah, every 5 seconds. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
BT is just too much.
But you mentioned with the cheer squad, the build up and so forth. You know, I really did miss in 2020. You know, because 2019 I had so much involvement with the club. I'd go down to training and do reports almost every week, if not twice a week. You know, I'd go and watch the seconds and report on that. I'd watch the firsts and all that.
Yeah.
For 2020, you know, I came in the house one day and I found this woman there, and I just thought, what's going on here? So I went and introduced myself. Turns out it's my wife.
Oh, you're going to get in so much trouble. The couch is ready for you. The couch is ready for you. No. You're in trouble tonight, John. I must say, I've never spent as much time with my husband as I have this year.
Yeah.
Like, well, having our daughter in June around the actually, she was born the weekend of the Essendon game, and he's an Essendon supporter. So thank you, Liam Jones, and your head. Our daughter is now a Carlton supporter.
Yes, Michelle Ryder, I can't claim that one. That was a skull joke. That was I wet myself laughing when he said that. It wasn't mine. It wasn't mine. But I do have a story before we go on, and this is tangential, but it keeps up with the just to keep things light and
proceed
entertaining. I was talking with my girls, and this is 100% true story. There's no fiction to this. We were talking about, you know, what everyone wants for Christmas. And, you know, Powderfinger's got a new vinyl album out, which I really want. You know, the kids wanted a fish tank with fish, preferably living, which that's their words, preferably living. And, you know, my wife, Marta, wants a voucher for a massage and all that. And we go on to talking then, you know, what we want to eat Christmas Day and all that, just trying to get everything ready because we haven't had a chance to do all this because we've been moving. And then all of a sudden the conversation's cut short by my eldest, Madeline, and she coats my whole hand with the remnants of the burnt out mosquito coil. She covers it completely. And she says, Dad, guess what? Now you got Powderfinger.
Wow. Wow. She's returning your dad jokes to you.
That was back
Well, let's get back on track and talk some more.
Yeah, we're back on track. Yeah.
Unpopular opinion has been something that Nick and I have run with for the last, I think, 4 or 5 episodes. And it's actually been really good because a lot of people don't share the same opinions when it comes to the club and whatnot. So it's always good to generate a bit of conversation. So you were saying to me off air that you've got yourself an unpopular opinion. Would you care to share with our audience your unpopular opinion this evening?
So off air, and a lot of the regular listeners would actually appreciate this. Off air, I said, well, my unpopular opinion is just me talking. Look, my unpopular opinion, I'm going to get blasted for this, but that's okay. My unpopular opinion is that Durden will struggle to make it at AFL level simply because of his height.
Okay, that's an interesting topic starter. Just for those playing at home, how tall is he?
172. So that's,
Okay.
quite well under the 6 foot level. And I just think, within AFL, you need to be, you need to have that tiny little bit of aerial ability, and it's pretty hard at 172. It's out of this equation exactly. Eddie Betts is just a freak at everything that he does. There were stages. Oh, now come on, that's harsh. That is.
I had to put it up. Sorry.
Thanks, Trev. He's housing and he's digging.
Welcome, Trev.
But yeah, that's thrown me off my train of thought. You can go now.
Well, in my counter argument, you have the likes of Caleb Daniel, who has made it at AFL level at a similar height, being a smaller player, and he's actually been he made All-Australian this year, I think. So that's my counter argument back to you, that short people can play football.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But saying that it's not the norm, is it?
No, it's not. And when you look at Gibbo as well, Gibbo's a shorter person as well. Like he's not exactly gifted with height, if you're going to put it that way. But no, I feel that he may make it, but you could be right. Not every player at that height has the skill level to go with it. We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, that's what this unpopular opinion is. It's to
exactly.
get.
Yeah. No, definitely.
To be proven wrong. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong about this.
In every facet of every unpopular opinion I have had since the dawn of time, I would like them to prove me wrong.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. But that's not to say that I don't wish him all the best. I do. I have a long, fantastic career. Make All-Australian, make a premiership team like Caleb Daniel, and great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Debbie O'Connor goes, he's taller than the Western Bulldogs guy. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough. And we're not allowed to call them short. They're actually vertically challenged.
I'm vertically challenged. I'm not very tall. That's why I'm a midfielder.
Now, in my day playing footy, you used to, when you're a bit shorter, you used to play back pocket. And I used to play back pocket all the time, but that's not because I was short. It was just because I was shit.
Well, there you go. No, I'm either I'm either a midfielder or I play half forward. So I mustn't be that bad if I don't think I can play in the forward line. But no, well, if we're going to switch to my unpopular opinion, I've been thinking about this all week and I still am a little bit up and down with it. But I'm going to put it out there that Mark Murphy was one of our best captains.
Do you have a time frame there, or you're talking of all time?
No, not of all time. Of recent, in the last 10, 15 years.
Okay. Well,
I say this because he is, well, people used him as a whipping boy when he was captain, and given not the fact just because he's my favourite player, that's beside the point. I just feel that his leadership didn't necessarily be through his football ability, if that makes sense. He was a genuinely good leader off field as well, which I feel Docker has the same capabilities now. So he was a leader, not just a captain on field, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, look, he captained the club through some of its darkest times.
He did, and it's not easy to be a captain of a football club that continuously has a bad culture, has rotating coaches through a revolving door, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I reckon he's been up there with the best captains of the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for agreeing with me. And I know Murph. Some people just were calling for his resignation as captain pretty early on, and I just thought it was unfounded because what, you're going to let him be captain for 1 year and then say, well, you're not doing a good job, mate, see you later. Like, doesn't quite work for me. Yeah, and I'm getting people actually agreeing with me here, so I'm actually really excited.
That's good. Once people talk about Murph, and I haven't been lambasted over my point of view, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've gone really unscathed.
You've gotten through very well. No, but a lot of people might think, well, we've got to give the bloke a chance, which is fair enough, considering we just drafted him. But more like you said, you'd like to be proven wrong.
Yep.
And let's put it to you guys. What are some of your unpopular opinions this week? Because I know we love this segment here at the Heatley End, and I know there's plenty of unpopular opinions within the Heatley End, no matter where we're playing at the MCG or at Marvel Stadium. Michelle Ryan has given us an unpopular opinion. She doesn't think David Teague is tough enough when required. Only seen him go off once. That's fair.
Yeah, look, I don't agree with that, simply because I know that when we saw him go off, there was not meant to be cameras in there.
No. But how good was it watching him go off?
Yeah, so he likes to do it behind closed doors when he does go off. He doesn't like to be put that into the public domain. So we've only seen it once. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen all the time. And we only saw it because of a mistake by the cameraman.
Hey, it was a good mistake because it was something that the Carlton fans needed to see, in my opinion, because a lot of people were bashing him on social media for being too soft. Yeah. And I disagree with the fact that he's not tough enough, because I've seen him play as a footballer and I've heard him as a coach of the Northern Blues. He ain't soft.
As a player and as a coach of the Bull Ants, he was completely unrelenting, wasn't he?
He was, and that's what you want in a coach. You want someone who's gonna grab them by the scruff of the neck and say, "Hey, pull your head in."
Yeah,
it's the team sport. And so in years gone by, I feel that maybe Bolton may have been the one who wasn't tough enough on them, because he's a school teacher by trade. So you can see why Bolts probably wasn't the coach that we needed, but I'll save that for an unpopular opinion for next time.
Actually, I want you to go on with that and just read the one that you got during the week from someone, because that's just beautiful. Segue. We did get segue. So I'll leave that to Sharon.
Perfect. Yes. No. Friend of the show, Rafi, if you're watching, hello. He messaged me after last week's show with an unpopular opinion, and I think it's a fantastic unpopular opinion. Just give me a sec to have a quick read. He goes, he poses the question to everybody: was Brendan Bolton any better for us than Mick Malthouse? What I mean is Malthouse was a disaster from a culture point of view, but Bolton, whilst building a better culture, 2 wins in 2018 and no trade requests, pulled some crazy stuff like playing physically underdeveloped players like Dow and O'Brien far too early, making them stick to a boring, safe and very predictable style of play, ruining their confidence, which ultimately led to us winning more wooden spoons. And he goes, to add to that, he goes, what other coach would have first-year players play an entire season?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I think some mistakes were made. I think, I think it was not only Brendan Bolton, but I think the entire leadership group was so hell-bent on getting games into kids and fast-tracking. That's all we heard, getting games and fast-tracking. So I don't think he was the Lone Ranger there. He had the whole backing of the leadership group to do it, and we saw that particular players, they didn't respond to that. But now let's go 180, and we're seeing guys like Liam Stocker not get a game for the same reason, and people are saying, well, what's wrong with Liam Stocker? He must be. But it's actually no, we're taking the time to develop him now because we've got the capacity to do that.
Well, I sit in the same boat, really. I think that we may have pushed those boys too hard, too fast, because by the end of the season they were knackered, and it was obvious. You could see them. They weren't running out games. They were struggling, and two very different coaching approaches. But I feel what Bolton did for Carlton off field to get us to where we are now is well above what Mick Moldhouse had done for us, 100%. Bolton started off what Teggy will finish, in my opinion.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think the Moldhouse years just drove us into the ground. We were going to games and thinking, we're getting thrashed by 100 plus points. There's no one in the crowd. Like, they'd be lucky to be 10,000 people in the crowd because there was no hope. There was no hope to say, where is this improvement going to come from?
Yeah. I know a lot of people that gave up their memberships because of Mick Moldhouse and refused to become members until he was gone.
Yep.
And that speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, that's why we got Toshiba on, if you remember, as a sponsor. Toshiba microwaves. What's your membership here?
Oh, no. No, but it's a very, very interesting topic of coaches. So I think it's a fantastic unpopular opinion. And if people in the comments have anything to add to that, what their thoughts are, hit us up, let us know. In the meantime, we'll move on to the next unpopular opinion here by Sean. Hello, Sean. Welcome back. I believe I saw you last week as well. Is David Teague flexible, proactive in a game? An example, when Charlie Dixon kicked all those goals on Liam Jones, still didn't make a change. Dixon was the difference in that super close game. Thoughts?
I think the change should have been made to Wiedering a lot sooner than it was. But the problem was not Charlie Dixon. The problem was the speed at which that ball was coming out of the midfield or from half back. Changes needed to be made in the midfield, to stop the rot there. And that would have put, a lot more pressure on the ball carrier. And Charlie Dixon would have had the field day that he actually had. It's because he's very much a confidence player, Charlie Dixon. If he kicks a couple early or kicks one early and gets it lace out, he just goes to town. If he gets quiet because of the supplies cut down the field, he goes quiet himself. So I think we didn't do that properly.
No, and considering Jacob was robbed of a spot of the All-Australian, that's another topic for another day. But no, I agree that the change was made far, far too late, and I think it does stem from changes that need to be made further up the field, because we were dominating that entire game up until a certain point where, I don't know, the momentum shifted, whether it was something one of our boys did or whether it was a decision made by those guys that wear that funny colour, that pretend to blow a whistle in the middle of the ground. You may have heard of them. They pop up occasionally when, it suits them. But no, I think that it should have been done earlier. So if that's one criticism of David T, that is that he needs to be proactive. So I agree to a degree with that he's not proactive, but he needs to be. And I know in an interview recently he said that's something he needs to work on and that he's identified in himself. So if he's identifying things that he needs to improve on, then I know we've got a good coach.
Yeah, it's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah. if you want to improve in yourself, then yeah.
Yeah, but it's particularly what Trevor and I were very frustrated with, and we talked a bit about this, and a lot of the supporters were and members were frustrated with, is the first 11 games that David T coached. Very proactive in making the changes. Let's try something different. Let's try this, and we gained a hell of a lot of momentum, on and off the field because of it. I don't know why this season that he reverted to go completely safe.
Yeah, that's it. Just going through some of these Mick Moldhouse comments here. Some of them I probably won't put up, but I agree with all of them. But yeah, no. Adrian goes, culture in any club environment is important. Creates a sense of who you are. Brings culture, then brings players and premierships. Well, proof is in the pudding. I mean, we're a destination club now. Like, we got Jack Martin in the off season last year. This year we've got Adam Sard and we've got Zach Williams. So the players are obviously wanting to come to Carlton now. So there's obviously something there that I don't know whether Eddie Betts brings that culture with him. Like, he just glows wherever he goes, that man. So yeah.
We mentioned it last year earlier in the year, what a massive mistake of Adelaide that was to get rid of him.
100%.
But just because of what he does off the field, and you say that glow that he's got, that big smile, it's infectious.
During the week, the Cheer Squad announced that we're sponsoring Eddie Betts, so it's come full circle for us. It's come full circle. So for those that were watching a few weeks ago, that was our little surprise. So if you haven't heard, Carlton Cheer Squad are sponsoring Eddie Betts again next year, and we're also sponsoring Tom De Conning, which we have from the start, and obviously Nicola Stevens from the AFLW. So yay, big things happening.
Yeah, and Al Downey as well, are you not?
I don't think the Cheer Squad are doing Al Downey.
Okay.
But we should.
Yeah.
There you go.
Go back as the Carlton Live crew would attest to.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Everyone's having a go at Mick Moldhouse here. We'll push on. Congrats to the Betts family on Eddie Betts the fourth. Yes, that was big news the other day. Congratulations to Eddie, another family member. They've gone from one little boy when they moved to Adelaide to 5 kids now. So they've done well.
So give them another couple of years and they'll have a footy team,
Oh, if we don't get a couple of father-daughters or father-sons out of that brood, then there's something wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Just natural talent.
Oh, natural talent for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Tassie Group sponsoring Liam Jones again. Well, that's fantastic news.
Yep.
Fantastic news. Now moving on. I know last week. Oh, you got something to share?
Yeah. Carlton Live has continued its sponsorship of Jack Martin as well.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We love him. He's just such a great player, but such a great person off the field as well to talk to. Yeah.
Well, hopefully next year we actually get to see more of the players in an off-field capacity. This year's been a bit difficult, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Just a little bit. But no, moving. I know last week Nick and I were going to discuss a bit of nostalgia heading into Christmas. So do you have any Carlton memories that stick out to you across your journey? Any premierships that you've seen or any games that stick out in your mind as a game that you'll never forget?
There's really is so many of them, but for me, one of the pinnacles of my membership years was the '99 prelim. That was just one of the most extraordinary games. From I think every player on the ground from both teams left it all out on the ground. They were just stuffed by the end of it, and that's one of the reasons why Fraser Brown was able to get Dean Wallace, because, he was just
What a tackle it was.
Look, we'll be talking about that. Like me and my mate will go and watch every game for almost every game the last 25 years. We'll talk about that until the day we die. Just what a magical moment that was. And then Justin Murphy holding up the ball as a side. It still gives me chills. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. And it turned in such a great day and night that we ended up back at, we went out everywhere in Carlton, ended up finally at the Glen Ferry Hotel near where I lived at the time. And my last memory of that night was having two lovely young ladies drinking beer out of my belly button. That's where that night finished.
And then JR, keep it PG.
Sorry, I didn't say belly button. And we woke up a couple of hours later. In those days, of course, there's barely working internet. So we woke up a couple of hours later to line up for 8 hours to get tickets to the grand final. The sickest of all.
Well, while we're on the topic of the 1999 prelim final, I was 8 years old. I was there.
Yeah, thanks for shooting it out. That's awesome.
But no, the one memory that sticks out in my mind that I've heard so many times was all the Essendon supporters lined up outside the MCG. Or was it? No, it was outside Dockland Stadium at the time, waiting for grand final seats. We all went back there after the game to see if they're still there, and they were gone. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So even when we turned up first thing in the morning, they were still coming back, packing up their stuff. And this is at the Art Centre. And they're still packing up their stuff.
How good.
Driving past, trying to keep their heads down.
Well,
emotion from everyone on the line.
I would have got the royal wave going. See you later. To this day, I love rubbing that game into my husband because obviously being the Carlton Essendon rivalry in this household, he then proceeds to bring up 93. And I'm like, but 99's more recent.
Yeah. 99 too. They were unbackable favourites to win the whole thing.
They were. And then the next year they go and they win. But, that doesn't matter because we won 99.
Yeah.
That's what counts.
Other games, looking back into the memory, is almost any game that I saw of Anthony Koutafidis. He's, my favourite player that I've seen in my time watching football, because he would just, I would turn around to my mate again, who I've watched almost every game for the last 25 years with, and say, "Oh, look out, Cooter's sick of losing," and all of a sudden he goes and takes 10 marks, or there's something miraculous, and the whole game changes, He was just, any game like that, particularly the one West Coast at Optus Oval. Andrew Lake will be able to tell me the year where he just, he took a ridiculous amount of marks and completely turned the game on its head.
Oh, love Cooter.
Yeah.
I grew up in the latter years of his career, and he's actually a really good friend of mine now because I did a little bit of Cooter Fit Club with him about 5-6 years ago. So he's actually a really good friend now, which is who would have thought? Yeah, you're one of your childhood heroes. You can actually call a friend.
Yeah, brilliant. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
One would also be the 1987 grand final when I was, we had lost to Hawthorn the year before, and we'd made all these changes in 1987 and to get some wonderful players in, including putting Kernahan as captain. And then, it was just such a sweet victory to beat Hawthorn. It had been so dominant since 1983. Having their rivalry with Essendon and then us. That was a really sweet one. And one of the best memories I've got of it is my dad was completely blind by the end of it and singing "We Are the Champions" and just completely screwing up every single word. But he didn't.
Oh, what a memory, though, because you can still remember it today. What a memory. No, well, I obviously I've only seen 95 and I was quite young. So premierships to me are quite few and far between, you would say. But my dad, who's a 60-plus year Carlton mad supporter, often tells me of 1970 as one of his favourite. And there's actually footage of him after the game on the ground hugging Ron Barassi. So I could point him out in the footage, and at least I say to him, well, at least you can say you were there.
Yeah, 1970 was huge for my dad too. He wasn't a Carlton member for long, but that was one of the years that he was, and a social club member. And every time that he talks about Carlton, he speaks with a fondness of that premiership. And then he was at the social club having a beer, and then all of a sudden, the players have come from the ground, and around the corner is Ron Barassi's big smiling face, ear to ear, and he just remembers that moment and remembered that to the day he died.
How fantastic, though. Like, it's good that they have these memories, and then, like, they can tell us as kids the stories, and hopefully we win a premiership soon so we can then continue that tradition on. Well, Andrew Lake has his bit of nostalgia for the evening. 1979 grand final post siren. My dad turned to me and said, enjoy it. You may not see another. 2 years later, we won back-to-back.
Yeah. But what a visionary,
I know. I won't be asking him the lotto numbers.
Nice. Hey, Grego, Sauce keeping false god goalless in 95. Yeah, that was brilliant. There was a lot of talk about, Sauce, getting fullback of the century, but when you think of who he played on, Lockett, Dunstall, Ablett, Lynch, and goalless, or low goal scores, for most times he was really beaten. You're talking there about the four best of all time.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you think of who he played against, and he's another player that I've got to say he was just a pleasure to watch. I mean, what I loved about him is because he always looked so slight. And playing on guys like Lockett and Dunstall, who were, they weren't the fittest looking blokes. But he had these snake-like arms that just seemed to come from nowhere, and all of a sudden there's a fist in the way of the ball coming to them. It's like, how do you do that?
It kind of reminds me of Liam Jones, if we're going to go a likeness for, like, size-wise. Like, sometimes you don't think Jonesy's going to get there, then all of a sudden you see a fist. Or a head, in his case, on the goal line. But you're right, and if you look at Jack Silvani, he's built the same way. He's even got the same bow legs as his father.
Yeah.
And you just wonder if Jack was just a little bit taller, would he be the same kind of defender or similar to his dad? I often wonder what Jack could be if he was slightly taller, because he's not the same. His dad's still quite taller than him. I think Ben's the same height as Stephen.
Yeah, Ben's even taller, I think, than his dad. Jack's not that far off, actually, but yeah, Jack's definitely got the temperament and that competitive nature that his dad.
Oh, for sure.
And his granddad had. I didn't see his granddad play, but my dad used to talk about him and say. In fact, my granddad used to talk about Serge Silvani and say, and he died when my grandfather died when Stephen had just started his career, and he said, he's no good as his old man.
Well,
much better than Stephen.
If that's the biggest prove me wrong, I don't know what is. Now I feel I need to put this comment up because Trev, I'm not sure if this is true. I'm not sure if this is true.
Well, I think current day put him out on the field.
Oh, current day, but back in the day, I don't think Levi would beat Stephen Silvani in the contest, just quietly. As much as I'd like to. It's really good to see everyone putting in all these different nostalgia memories. I think for me, growing up in the dark days of Carlton, like I remember majority of the footy from 2002 onwards, really, and not a lot of highlights, I must say. The majority of my favourite memories are pretty much in recent years, I suppose. My favourite game has been and probably will be for a very long time. Last year's game in Freo, where Murph kicked the winning goal. For me, because it was my first ever trip to Perth. Never been to Perth before, and beautiful place of the world. If you get to go there, go.
If I didn't move to Sunshine Coast, it would have been Perth and Margaret River, I reckon.
Yeah, no, Perth is probably on my list to redo because I only spent a couple of days there, and the fact that my favourite player kicked the winning goal, that was just cherry on top of the cake. But no, considering where we were at halftime of that game, I didn't expect to be flying home with a win.
Yeah.
And another fond one was probably the 2011 elimination final, where we kicked the first 5 points of the game and then said to Essendon, "Nice to see ya," and then "See you nice, bye."
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but
no, I think we beat them because we beat them in round 17 of that year, where Walker took the mark of the year that wasn't paid, and we beat them by close to 900 points, and then a couple of weeks later we played them in the elimination final and we beat them just as good as we did the first time. So beating them twice within 4 weeks was just fantastic for me. Anytime we beat Essendon's fantastic for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think every Carlton supporter feels that, and I think every Essendon supporter feels it in the opposite direction every time they beat Carlton.
Yeah, well, Collingwood too. Fev's dozen goals against Collingwood in the Twilight game.
That was 1999 New Year's Eve game.
I was there as well.
Were you? Okay. Yeah, I was at a pub in Moorabbin actually watching it, and one of our best mates, Collingwood supporter, he just couldn't look the whole time. So we just did the right thing with that game, and there was one particular moment in that game, like Collingwood defence was completely, they were having a bad night, and he got totally wrong-footed by someone coming out of the back line, and he ended up looking like this, like he was about to take off for a dive. So we actually took video of the game, paused it at that exact same point, and showed it to them.
Such good friends.
Never let him forget it either in 21 years.
Oh, no, that was the game for me where everyone was like, who's this kid we just picked up? Who's this Brendan Favola kid? Da-da-da-da-da. And then up until the time he left at the end of 2009, I think he was probably arguably the best forward in the competition by a country mile. And to this day, he's still playing football and he's nearly 40. So,
yeah, the way the game went, though, he was starting to get shut down because players were getting in front of him and stopping his run. He worked best when there was a completely open forward line and he could lead to wherever he wanted, and then he was unstoppable. But with people getting in his road, that's where he really started to struggle. And Eddie Betts did his best work with Favola as well when he was a colour. Because of that space that was generated. And, Favola knew where to get it to the ground net. He was just off to the races. So I think the way that the game was going at that particular time is that it didn't suit Fev. Now, with a 6-6-6 and everyone playing right up the ground, if he could play today out of the goal square and still kick a bundle because it totally suits him. He's got this wide open paddock to run into. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, no, well, at his peak, for me, would have been 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. Like, towards the end of his time at Carlton, and it was abundantly obvious in 2010 at Brisbane that if you can plug the hole and block his run, he's easy to stop.
And he gets frustrated and he gives away free kicks and gives away 50s and all of that, yeah.
Undisciplined because he gets upset. He gets
and play his natural game.
No, and if you don't let Bev play his natural game, you've got the upper hand. And I feel that towards the end of his career, that was the way it was going. And, well, what can you do?
Yeah, he wasn't a one-on-one contested mark sort of a guy.
No, he was a lead, put the ball in front of me, chest tight, I'll take it every time.
Yeah, unstoppable.
No, and too bad we didn't win a flag in that period because him as a premiership player would have actually put Stephen Kernahan to shame Mad Monday. True.
It's true. Following year.
True.
I like it. Very good.
No, well, I'm getting a lot of people are putting in their memories here. It's actually really good to reflect on what has been in the last 20 years of Carlton. And Adelaide win in 2015. Which one?
Can I just close the loop on Brendan Favola?
Sure. Yeah,
I think it was going back to probably 2002, 2003, I'm going to say, where he picked that miraculous goal from the line to win last kick of the day against Adelaide.
2004, I think that was.
2004, yeah, okay. I'm not great on my years, but that was at a time in my life where I was at my lowest, and I was really struggling with life at that particular stage, and that just lifted me. And I still remember it to this day that me and my mate were just running around the house, just with our hands in the air like he was, after the goal. And every time that he kicked a goal, any time after, we were always just running around. And it really picked me up. The combination of other things just really helped.
No, well, the one piece of commentary I remember from that game was Kevin Bartlett going, "If anybody can kick it, this man can."
Yeah.
And mind you, 13-year-old me watching the football back then was just all about, can we win at least one game?
Exactly.
And anybody who knows me well enough that I cannot watch the football at home.
Really?
Nope.
Take us through the thought process.
So I had to be extra quiet this year because of the little one. I found it extremely difficult, especially that Collingwood game when we were so far up. But no, I am loud at the football. And translate that to four walls at home, not so fun. I get very angry and I get very upset if we're not, winning. So it's not a very fun place to be when Carlton are losing and you're watching the football at home with me.
My wife's also noticed with me that I'm a lot more vocal at home than I am at the game. At the game, me and my mate will just sit there and sort of take it all on board, and then, we'll have a great rant session when the game's over. But we'll just sort of sit there and take it, and shit, here we go again.
Yeah, and when you're sitting with everybody at the football, you can be vocal because everyone else is vocal with you, especially where we sit. So. And me being the only Carlton supporter in the house, it's my husband often threatens to leave the house while I'm watching the football. He's like,
I'm glad you out of the house.
I'm going to leave. You can watch this and I'll come back when it's over.
Now, I'm just going to do a location change when my battery's running out.
No worries. I'll keep going through these memories and
yes, there's some wonderful comments in.
Yeah, there are some wonderful comments. I like this one from Trevor. I remember Carlton winning the 2022 to 2028 premierships. Okay. If you've looked into your crystal ball and just predicted that we're going to win 5 premierships in a row, I wouldn't mind.
Is that like, was there a DeLorean involved in that?
DeLorean? No. Or a sports almanac?
Yeah, correct.
Seeing Wayne Johnson getting his spleen ruptured by Gary Ablett Sr. at Cardinia Park, but still stay on his feet until the ball went out of bounds. Most courageous act Andrew's ever seen. Interesting. 2004 cost Gary his job? I'd say it did. Oh, I love you too, Natalie. You know me well enough to know that, not exactly the greatest home supporter. Chris Speech, yep, I'm the same. Don't worry, I'm vocal no matter what the venue. Yeah, no. It's sometimes it can be a little bit of a up and down day depending on who we're playing and where we're playing. But no. My husband runs when I watch a game at home. I'm that loud. Michelle, I think we need to get together and watch a game together because I reckon we're just going to be as loud as each other and our husbands can do whatever they want. And Trevor, I'm an oracle. Yes. Well, if you're an oracle, are the girls going to win the AFLW Premiership in 2021? That's what I want to know. Anybody else got any other memories or topics to discuss this evening before we get John back, who's just disappeared into oblivion at this point in time? Oh, there he is. Give us a wave.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Trevor says he's an oracle, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Yes.
And yes, of course, they are back to back from the. Yeah, I agree. I should have had this year.
Yeah. Thanks, Trev.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. Well, is there any other topics that you wanted to have a chat about this evening before we wrap things up?
Yeah, look, actually, there is one, and this is, this is a nice shot back at Trev here. But I got to thinking last night, as I do about the game. I think about the game very often, and the state of it and the state of where Carlton is. And then I got to thinking last night about half forwards, and I got to thinking, what happens this season if Levi doesn't have a great season, or God forbid he gets injured. Now, I don't want to say injured again because I did that once with Cripps and I had death threats and all sorts of things. So,
what?
If he had a really bad year, where do we sit and who are you going to put at half forward? I'd love to get everyone's opinion.
Ooh, okay. Half forward. Ideally, I'd like to see Harry at half forward because I know he can play up the ground and he has the capacity to get back, which I've seen a few times. And if the ball gets over the back, good luck chasing him.
Yeah. Yep.
For me, it's Harry or heaven forbid Charlie. I'd put Charlie at full forward and wrap him in cotton wool.
Just say Charlie's out. Okay,
Charlie's out. All right. Well, I'd like to say McGovern. Give him a chance, I suppose. Like, I know everyone hates on him, and Adrian agrees with me here. Give him some ownership. 100% agree. He needs to be held accountable for his football, and he is another option. Rob and Debbie both said Jack Silvani. It's an interesting one. I don't know if he's a centre half forward or if he's a flank, but I wouldn't put him at centre half forward because he's just not tall enough. I'd put him either in a pocket or a flank Jack Silvani. What do you think?
I think almost the same lines as Adrian there with Jack Silvani. Give him an ownership and give him a key position, and he will make it his own. I think without having to share it with anyone. I think he would be a good one to try. You're right, the height does go against him, but his sheer competitive nature and his ability to read the ball is a very, very good one. I wouldn't give him ownership until he wants ownership.
Yeah, no, well, the endeavour's there 100%, but unless you want to take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, I want to make this my own, I want to prove to myself and to everybody that this game is for me, then give him a go. Like if you don't, everyone in the comments seems to be agreeing on the Jack Silvani front, which is fantastic to see because we know he's had his injury worries and he's had up and down games in the past couple of years, even when he hasn't been injured. But if David Teague's willing to hand him the baton and say, here, this is your position, make it your own, do what you need to do, prove to everybody that you're meant to be at this football club, then go ahead. Prove everybody wrong, and who knows, he could actually be the position he's meant to be in.
Yep. I do like that. I'd rather have Jack Silvani key position than I would McGovern. I think McGovern would then be your third tall. I don't think he's ready for key position. I really don't think that he's any sort of responsibility. I think he just likes to float in and out of games.
Yeah, well, here's a left field one for you. Caleb Marchbank.
Yeah, I do like it, Andrew, but I like him for that great overhead ability to, when I unfortunately shot Shannon down last week with the wing position, I think he will be great for that. I don't think he will play a lot of time forward or back because of his issues that he's had.
I think the impact on his neck would be a little bit too much for me as a defender. So reflecting on that conversation that we had last week, I feel that he probably does need to be in a position where he's running more, and that if he could play that loose defender as possibly like a Simo role or a Doherty role this year, where they would
sure.
Be that third man up and be that person that plugs the hole and takes those intercept marks, because he is great overhead, and he's even is an elite kick too when he gets going. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to try it. Like, I know they tried a few players this year in different positions. I mean, Cameron Paulson went from forward to back, so
yeah,
it can't be not done. And well, yeah, I agree with Adrian again here. Career-defining season for McGovern. Hate to see him just disappear without giving him a chance to prove his ability. 100% agree.
Yeah, fair enough. So my thought was when I was going through this in my head last night, it's very, very much along the lines of what Adrian said, is I'd put Cripps at half forward and make the midfield accountable and start to give them the ownership to say, right, this is your midfield now. Cripps will come in, every now and again, to help out.
Yep.
But this is you guys now, and you need to make it your own. And of course, him and Setterfield could swap in and out. He'll play that tall role as well. That's what I'd do. I'm completely. The way 666 is now structured the game, it means you need to go a lot more balanced with your height. You can't go too tall, you can't go too small. You need an even balance, and you need very, very good players with the ball, but also players who can run all day as well. That's just the way that the game's become. And so I think taking out that extra tall and having Cripps as your centre half forward or full forward, wherever you want to put him. Campbell, like Debbie O'Connor said, is a very good one too. We've talked about it before. He's just huge.
He is. He's going to be a monster, and that's what you want.
He'll dwarf Cripps,
No, but that's what you want, though. Should we put Cripps at a half forward? You have Kemp in the middle. Rotate between the two of them. The bigger bodies, like I said last week, the bigger bodies in the midfield are going to make us bullies. We want to be the bullies. We don't want to be bullied. We want to be doing the bullying. Yeah, correct.
Particularly with teams like Geelong, who are they are just big bullies in there, and that's how they got as far as they got.
Richmond are as well. Like when you look at Richmond's midfield, like Cochin, and you've got Dusty in there, and you've got Edwards in there. They're bullies. They bully the ball out, and then when the ball gets out, it's can.
Yeah.
We want to be the ones that are doing that. We want to be the ones that are working the ball forward. We want to be the ones that are getting the ball in and putting score on the board and making sure that the opposition don't. And we want to be – it starts from the midfield. So if we can, like you said, if we can make them accountable, then, it takes the pressure off Cripps. And when he does go in there and has an impact, it's not unknown to us sort of thing.
Yeah, but it becomes, it doesn't become the norm. It doesn't become relied on so much. I've seen it before in so many Carlton teams that we rely on one player too much, and all of a sudden, that's the only player that can play that particular position. Don't forget also that we've got one of the greatest competitive beasts that Sauce has ever seen in Liam Stocker, who's just quietly bubbling away there too.
Yep. Can't wait to see him next year.
This is his year ready to go. Yeah, then
bring it on. I agree with Greg here. Like, we've changed. We don't really have key position players anymore. Like, I think Lance Franklin's probably the last key position forward that I know of, because everyone else just seems to be rotating through their forward lines, and there's no set real, key players. It's all about customizing the team against the opponent you're playing against, which is 100% true, because you don't want to go into a side every week with the same players and not adapting to the players that would match up against correctly from the opposition.
Yeah, exactly. And Trevor and I have talked about it before, is you don't have a best 22 anymore, you have a best 30 or a best 34 or whatever it looks like. And you change your team completely based on who you're playing.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. And I agree again. The shorter quarters were not to our advantage, because we are a running side. And by the time we get into gear, it's too late and the quarter's finished or the game's over. So it is. It's all about the adapting to the team that we're playing. Yeah. Look out, Teague. John's coming. Here we go. Like winter is coming.
What was that? Sorry.
Winter is coming. It's a reference from a show that I've never watched. Funny that. So what is our round one side looking like? Now, this has been a hot topic across many different platforms, across many different pages, whether it was Fox Footy, whether it's a Carlton page, whether it's the AFL page, doing every team's best 22. I know people have put comments everywhere going, who should be our best 22, this, that, and the other. I'm of the opinion that it'll be up to the players come round one who are hungry for it. I don't see much of a change from this year, apart from obviously the retirees. I don't think we're going to be playing any of the new recruits, like the draftees, in round one. That'd be silly too against a side like Richmond, but you'd want to be playing the likes of Sard and Williams for sure. I just don't know how it'll be structured. What are your thoughts on the side for round one?
Yeah, Sard and Williams definitely. They will definitely be in the team unless injured or unless they've gone horribly out of form or horribly out of favour. But they came to the club, signed a contract to be playing in their positions, to be playing all year. So they will definitely be there. So then you've got to think, okay, who do you take out?
Yeah, that's the other question. Like, who do you drop for that?
It's a fascinating exercise. It really is.
I do not envy them at all.
Yeah. Look, I'd like to see Caleb Marchbank back and playing. I really would. Backline for me doesn't really change apart from
Simo.
Sard for Simo, even Marchbank for Simo, and then Marchbank and Sard, swap between having that other flank role and a wing, which I'd like to see. Midfield, I think you might see Kemp come in.
I wouldn't say no, but I just don't think the current draftees that we just picked up will make the best 22 straight off the bat round one. I can't see it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Smokey for me, he will go into round one, particularly because he's got that big body that we talked about for Richmond. I think he's a bit of a chance. And then, the rest of the midfield and forward, that's going to where it's going to come down to who wants it.
Who wants it more, especially that forward line, because I know we went through a few different players up in that forward line last year. Like we introduced Josh Honey, we introduced Matt Cottrell, we introduced Gibbo to the middle, Gibbo into a forward position, Zach Fisher into a forward position. It's going to be interesting because I remember, I think I mentioned it last week, that I watched the interview questionnaire they did with David Teague. And between all of the coaches, not one of their best 22s were the same.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
And it's a good problem to have. Like, I would prefer to have the depth and people wanting to make it rather than just clog the holes with just ITSA players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I raised it last week too. What it means in 12 months' time is who do you get rid of? You know, that's going to be a fascinating conversation because the first time, as long as I can remember, there's not those list cloggers. You're going to be getting rid of some really or potentially really good players.
Well, Fraser Phillips is one for me that we picked up in last year's draft that didn't get a go anywhere and was delisted. And there was huge raps on that kid. And I just feel for him because he obviously didn't get the opportunity with the whole list cutting and everything and due to COVID. So I want to see him get picked up by someone else. But it is a fascinating conversation that is going to happen at the end of 2021 as to who you bring in. Like, I know there's a few big key players that we're going to want to bring in, which means who makes way for those players. It's going to be an interesting conversation at the end of next year, but let's just get to round one first.
Let's go back to round one. I'm thinking too much.
Thinking too far ahead.
Yeah, I like how Andrew Lake is. You know, he's probably the best. He's probably the best scout that I've ever seen. You know, best ability to pick a gun player, and such as was his role at Werribee, and it still is his role at Werribee. And if he says Fogarty being our best team, that's a pretty close bet.
Yeah, well, I've seen highlights of Fogarty, and I like what I see. You want that burst of pace in the forward line just to burn off the defender chasing you. So if he can bring that to the table alongside Zach Fisher, then I reckon we've got a couple of great little forward pockets there for sure.
Yeah. Another thing that I've also toyed with too, and this was from conversations that we've had through the group, is Eddie Betts will probably only play half a season.
I think so. And he will stay on as a mentor post 2021, I would say.
Yeah.
He will retire. I guarantee you, I can't see him playing beyond next year.
Yeah.
And sadly, I don't think Murph will play beyond next year either. Especially touch wood, heaven forbid, something happens and he gets an injury, because I know he's got bad ankles.
The I word.
No, he's got bad ankles, and it a couple of times this year he's tweaked. He tweaked them a little bit. So I'd say he may pull the pin at the end of 2021. That's just my thought process, especially if they want to try and bring through the boys that are coming in, like your Kemps and your Stockers and that sort of stuff. We were talking about it last week and the week before about players that we don't think are going to hang around too much longer. And I believe Ed Kerno was another one that popped up into the conversation. Like, we want the leadership and we want the experience, but do we want them to hang around for as long as Craig Bradley did?
Yeah.
And back then when Braddles was around, we needed him. So, but it's like, do you want them to hang around as much as you love them? Yeah. And I'm not bagging Murph, Greg. He's my favourite player. Thank you very much. I will not stand for that. Murphy is my favourite player.
Yeah, what disappoints me about Murphy's career is he hasn't seen success. Because you look at 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, him and Cotton were on a similar par of being, captains of the club, complete whipping boys, seemed soft. seen as not, get rid of them type of thing, move on to the next generation. All of a sudden, Cochin has seen success with the club, and
A lot of success.
now an absolute legend of that football club. I would have loved to have seen the same thing happen for Mark Murphy, but it hasn't sort of transpired that way.
Yeah, no, and as much as I love Murph, and I do, like, completely, a little bit borderline too far, but but no, I just feel that in himself he may feel it's time. Like, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I would love to see him play forever, but just on the basis of the way it's trended, like the last couple of years with Dale Thomas and then now with Simo, like, will the club tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, I think it's time, or will he play one more maybe after, depending on how 2021 goes?
Yeah.
If we get close next year, he may go again just to see if it takes us anywhere. But as much as I'd love for him to play forever, I just don't know. It's the unknown, and we don't know if the list sizes are going to go back up or if they're going to be cut again. You just don't know what 2021 is going to bring.
Yeah. Look, at him and Betts are in the same boat. In so far as they will move on when the next generation's ready.
Yeah.
If the next generation's not ready, Mark Murphy will stay on.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it, and I hope that's the way the Carlton are going to be thinking, because I know that's probably why Simo got tapped on the shoulder, because the back line has that depth now, and they're ready. That back line is solid. That is probably the best back six we've had in about 10 years, and they're a solid back six.
We could go back as long as I've been watching football. That's, it's up there with the best I've seen.
Yeah, and like it's hard to crack into that back six, and that's what you want. Like, your offense is only as strong as your defense, and our defense is pretty strong. So there you go.
And your defense is only as strong as your midfield.
And our midfield can be strong when it wants to be.
Yeah.
Well, if that's it, if anyone else has any other things I want to bring up before we sign off for Christmas, let us know now. Otherwise, we'll say goodnight, end on a good note. It's been a pleasure having you co-host with me tonight, John. It's been different and good.
Yeah, I hope different, good.
It has been. It's good to have a conversation with someone who loves Carlton just as much as I and as Nick, and it's good to get people on that are different, that don't sit with us and then have different opinions. It's great, and it's healthy to have different opinions, and it's good to generate good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I go back, and I've said this before, I've said it a million times, we go back in time to the reason Trev and I started this whole thing was to get good, solid conversation with interesting people, and with, people who understand the game, who are not just there just to bag everyone and just to, vent their spleen. We wanted to put this together as constructive criticism. We wanted this to be positive type of thing. And like I said last week, you and Nick have really, really shown the brand a lot of, in fact, you've improved the brand by having that same sort of mindset. And, it's been a pleasure to be a part of this. And Shannon, you are the Carlton online game changer, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. No, well, it is difficult being a woman and talking football, because I know a lot of people don't think that we know a lot about football, and trust me, most of my friends are female and we know a shit ton about football. So it's actually good to be doing something like this, especially just to show that it's not just guys that know their stuff about football. Women know just as much, if not more. So,
yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. But you've demonstrated that on camera too. Not only you're very personable on the camera, but your knowledge of the game is excellent. it's been a pleasure to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate those kind words, because you'd think after playing football for 10 years and being a Carlton supporter for as long as I've been, that I got to know something, right?
Absolutely.
I'd be walking blind otherwise. No, but it has been a pleasure having you on this evening in replacement of taking a well-earned break. I just want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas from everybody on the Carlton Live team, including Nick, who is not here with us this evening. Have a great rest of this week and enjoy the festive season. Eat whatever you feel.
You bet. Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. Merry Christmas to you, your family, everyone else's family. We can't express enough how much we love the fan base and the people with us every single week. We do it for you guys.
Yes, we do. And not sure if there will be an episode next week leading into the new year. If not, we'll be back first thing after the new year. So if you have any topics that you want us to discuss leading into the new year, hit us up, send us a message, pop a comment on one of our posts, and we'll get to you, and we will be back bigger and better in 2021. So have a good new year, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Brilliant. Thank you all.
See ya.